Welcome back to the B-Xcellent podcast, where we amplify voices in STEM and explore pathways to innovation and success. I'm your host, Dr. Brandon Harrison Smith. Today, we have the privilege of talking to Dr. Kofi Nyarko, a professor of electrical and computer engineering here at Morgan State University and the founding director of the Center of Equitable Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning Systems, in short, CEAMLS. This nationally recognized center is advancing inclusive AI research and policy. Dr. Nyarko's recent work has been supported by NSF, NIH, and DoD. They span topics like neurosymbolic AI, multimodal machine learning, and responsible AI integrations. These areas have led to the innovation in autonomous systems like self-driving wheelchairs, which were tested at BWI Airport, and equitable digital infrastructures like the Bias Watch, and Morgan's collaboration on racially inclusive large language models. In today's episode, we'll be diving into artificial intelligence, what it really means, and how it impacts us, and why equity in AI matters. So without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Kofi Nyarko to the B-Xcellent podcast. So let's get started here. AI has been a phrase that we hear everywhere. And in the last couple of years, it's just been growing from self-driving cars, healthcare, or just uses of ChatGPT. But for a lot of people, AI still feels abstract. I know a lot of my students some are gung-ho to use AI, and some are very, afraid of using AI for different reasons. So let's start by saying, could you help us define artificial intelligence, and how should people understand it from a practical sense?
Got you. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It is great to have a platform to discuss some of these topics. They're very, very important.
Yeah.
I think most people should just understand that AI at its core is just a system mimicking human thinking and human reasoning. There are different methods to do so, machine learning being a very apropos one currently, because it's learning from examples, millions of examples on what people do and how people think, so it can mimic that behavior. But the key here is the word mimic. And I want people to understand these systems are not truly intelligent in the way we define human intelligence. There's a big debate about what is intelligence. I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole.
Yes.
But I can say machine intelligence is definitely different than human intelligence, the current way that we have embodied machine intelligence. And so with that thought in mind, I think, one easy way for the public to put their hands around AI is to understand that these are systems that have been developed by humans to mimic certain aspects of the way we think and the way we reason.
Used AI and machine learning. How do they differ? Like, what can the general public understand about those two terminologies? Are they the same? Are they different?
Yeah, right now, everybody kind of transposes them left and right and kind of equate to be the same thing. If you listen to, I don't know, especially companies who want to sell you everything. So everything is AI. Actually, AI is a very old field. It's been around for a long time. And like I said, it's just really trying to mimic human intelligence any which way we can, programmatically. How do we mimic human intelligence? There have been various approaches over the years. Currently, the one that is winning out, I'm going to put winning in quotes here, is machine learning. So it's an approach.
I see.
And the way it works is I can take a particular system model architecture. I don't want to get into the weeds, but I can then show this particular architecture millions of examples of things that, human beings have done. It was self-driving vehicles, millions of examples of us controlling vehicles and the input signals and so forth. And machine learning will do its best to approximate that. And by approximating it, it can oftentimes mimic that human intelligence, the human reasoning I spoke about.
I got you. So can it mimic human error?
It absolutely can mimic human error. And that is a very key point. So I'm going to train on millions of examples of whatever.
Yes.
Where are these examples coming from? How is it sourced? What demographics are represented in those examples? And what systemic bias might have crept in as we collect all this data and we feed these models.
Absolutely.
So even think of something like policing. They have AI systems, quote unquote AI systems that recommend to judges what kind of sentences people should get. Well, you can see where I'm going here, because if we have a history in this country of policing being a bit one-sided, where particular groups have been not treated equitably, well, then that information crops up in the data that's collected that then trains this model. Then all of a sudden, now you have Black men getting much harsher sentences than others, which that's a problem.
That is definitely a problem. All right. So that brings me to my next question. It seems like a very powerful tool. It brings opportunity, but it also can bring risk. Is there really a right or wrong way to use AI, or does it depend on context and intention?
Oh, there's always a right and wrong to just about anything.
Fair.
But I like to use the term responsible AI when we say anything in the center that I direct. When we use AI in any sort of way, we like to use it responsibly. So we like to train responsibly. We like to put it in practice responsibly, and also to continue to test and evaluate. That's the typical way you try and ensure that AI is serving its true purpose while minimizing potential harms. The right way to treat AI is, number one, understand its goal. You have to have a particular intent when using AI and not treat it like the Swiss Army knife that you just throw AI at anything and then hopefully it's going to solve the problem. No. Have a very specific reason why you want to use AI. Understand which type of AI is best used for that particular problem, where the pitfalls might be in using that type of AI, so you can anticipate the ways it could go wrong. And then when you go and get your data, make sure you source it from the right demographics and communities to make sure people are represented who will inevitably be the ones impacted by this AI. There's a whole process in making sure that once you train this AI, you have a continuous test and evaluation process that, it lets you know that it's continuing to act the way it's supposed to act once it's deployed and out there dealing with the real world. Because the real world is messy. In the lab, you might just get great numbers and performance, and you're like, yeah, I'm good to go. Let me just throw this thing out there in the community and walk away, and it's just going to work perfectly. But that's not very true. Because AI can, depending on what kind of AI, can adapt and change with the use of, whomever its end user is supposed to be, there could be an alignment drift. And so now you have to be able to monitor that and say, it's not acting the way we thought it should act, at least in terms of its performance across various demographics. So let's pull it back in, let's retrain it, or refine it, and then put it back out again and continue and test it.
So two things come to mind from your answer. One, that's different types of AI. I'm not sure a lot of people are aware of that. Can you talk about a little bit about there being different types?
Yeah, we can go down the rabbit hole here.
But
it gets real deep, but I'll just start on the 30,000-foot level.
Sure.
There's generative AI and there's predictive AI.
Okay.
So that's a nice clear demarcation. Everything maybe up until the last 5 years was really based on predictive AI, meaning that you give me some data, I will tell you the most likely output to match that data. So this could be classification. Show me a picture of a cat, and I can say this is a cat, right, versus a dog. Yeah, that's classical stuff right here. It's actually good in that it's narrow in what it does and what it produces. So that way you can really target it to solve particular problems that you want to solve. Generative AI is a new kid on the block, right? And it's a new kid just because of two things. A particular architecture that Google developed back in 2017 called the Transformer, and access to data. And with generative AI, we have our ChatGPT and everything that comes out of the large language models. They have done a tremendous job in educating the public on AI just because of how accessible it is and how magical it seems like I'm talking to a computer and it's like talking back at me, and it's just great. But generative AI is a bit tricky in that it's not as precise as predictive AI in some of its outputs. So that's where you get the hallucination problems, right? It will say something is, ask it for a fact, and it will confidently say, this is the fact, when in fact it's not really true, right? But because it's so confident in its output, the public is typically swayed to believe whatever comes out of these models.
You're right.
Very, very dangerous.
Right.
People say, oh, well, we have a hallucination problems with AI, with generative AI in particular. I like to always say that it's not just we have a hallucination problem that sometimes it gets things right and sometimes it gets things wrong. The very nature of the technology is to always hallucinate. It's generating. So it's generated from a distribution. It's always hallucinating. It's just sometimes, most times, its hallucinations are aligned with the truth.
That's scary.
Look at it from that standpoint, right? It's like, you really want to be careful of what comes out of these and taking them as like the canonical gospel, so to speak, and then acting on it.
Also, the other part of your answer that was interesting is it seems like we need to have a intuition or some basic understanding before trusting the output of these models.
Yes. I like to look at it from a technology standpoint. You have a new piece of technology that is designed to do a lot of different things. So I can't just say it does only this one thing. Will you automatically take what comes out of this technology and build your life around it and invest your money and, put the health of your family at the feet of this technology? You probably want to vet it first, right? You want it to do a bunch of stuff and you pay attention and see, well, how right is it? How does it align with something I personally know, before I ask it something I don't know and just take its word for it? I think that's a healthy way to look at large language models and AI in general. Is this black box that predicts or does a whole bunch of different things.
Right.
But let me just try and figure out what is it, where does it fail? Where is it not good? And for that, I need to interact with it in a way where I am confident with the material so I can spot where it's not aligned with what I know. And that gives me a sense of its utility, its failings, and how I can just deal with the technology. I don't want to paint the picture that it's not amazing. This is amazing technology. You just have to use it the way that it is intended and the way that makes sense to you and your lifestyle. Be a critical thinker. Don't always just take what comes out and just run with it.
Yeah.
But definitely there's some use cases where it's very, very powerful.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I was telling my students, I was like, I don't need to see the date says on a milk carton says that it expires next week, but I see lumps in it. I don't need to say, well, it says it's not.
Well, it's not next week yet, so we're good.
Yeah, we're good. No, I don't have to eat it and say, oh man, something was wrong here. You can kind of use your own instincts, but your instincts have to know some information prior to, which makes it hard because if you're asking AI something that you have no knowledge base about, how can you kind of push back?
Well, especially when it's so confident, when it gives you an answer that sounds so eloquent, and there's no room for doubt in this response. It's a very dangerous territory.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed that people like to ask AI yes/no questions a lot. And the problem with that is, unless it's egregiously no, it will almost always say yes. Is trained to please you or to please the end user just because of the nature of the training process, which means that either just say, hey, should I do XYZ? It will say, absolutely. Yes, you should do XYZ. And it will justify it tremendously. It will sound beautiful, but no, this is not, it may not necessarily be true.
Yeah, I was fighting with AI, I think the other day, because I disagreed with something. And I was like, I don't think this is a good idea. And it was like, no, it's absolutely a good idea. And I just was like, well, what about this? And they were like, oh, you got a good point.
Yeah. And always it's like, whatever you want. It's very sycophantic sometimes in that way because this is designed to please you. Mm-hmm. And so one thing I like to tell people, a healthier way of interacting with LLMs, especially if you're doing some ideation or you're not sure about something and you want some help making a decision, ask neutral questions or ask it to do something like evaluate or to analyze. So it wouldn't be, I can't even think of a good question off the top of my head, but it wouldn't be like, should I take this job out here in Seattle, given that I'm working at this place, or this is my background, or this is what I'm good at? It would be like, evaluate my fitness for this job, given my resume and the whatever's posted about the job in terms of its description and so forth. That's a very neutral thing. And so you get an analysis that should be fairly neutral. And in there, you see pros and cons.
Right.
And then you use your own critical thinking, your own reasoning to decide what action is best for you.
Yeah, those are the answers I like the most because it feels like I can go somewhere with the information.
Yes.
So that's a good point. All right. So one thing, so we're talking about AI. It's been pretty exciting. But one place it's showing up, and maybe there's bias because we're in this field, it's in education.
Yeah.
It's showing up quite a bit in education. But let's start. Like, how is AI changing education? From a faculty standpoint, from your perspective?
From a faculty standpoint, I think it has given a lot of faculty anxiety.
Yes.
I think anxiety only because they see the field changing so rapidly. It's like a rug has been pulled out from underneath them. Where now with these tools, whatever question you can, challenge a student with, they can go home and then come back and give you a fantastic answer. Have they reached some comprehension level from which the answers come from? Not necessarily. And even if it's something where you have like a test in class, there are a bunch of different ways and tools for them to still access these models.
Yeah.
And then get the responses and then pass them off as their own.
Right.
And so it's like right now, we are in the business of educating young minds because we want to help shape them, want to help them develop, find their own voice. We want them to understand how to think critically and reason through all these complex parts of what it means to be a functioning member of society, right? You don't want it to just be about regurgitating what comes out of some system. But how do we do that when literally the tools are so accessible that it takes almost no effort to essentially offload all that critical thinking to a model?
Yes, that's definitely challenging. Is there any other benefit besides just teaching for faculty in AI, or you think like can AI be even more useful for faculty besides just?
Oh, yes. So I was just painting the challenges that we can face, not the opportunities, because I think there's two sides of every coin here.
Right.
For me, the opportunities are helping offload some of the workload that faculty are under, because we do a lot, not just teaching, advising, and all these different things. We're doing a whole bunch of different things all the time. I like to use AI to help me do some of the mundane things that's kind of difficult to do. For example, craft quizzes. I would like to, given some material I just covered or just some niche thing we're discussing in class, come up with quiz material right away that can help assess individuals' knowledge and make it self-graded. So I can do a quiz, self-grade, put it in Canvas, and now the whole entire process is a bit automated. Now, when I generate the quizzes, I always check them.
You have to always.
And whatever comes out of these models, I always check them. But I mean, they're pretty good, and the corrections are not are far and few between. And that just gives me a whole bunch more time to focus on other things as well. Or even if it's ideation, I'm trying to figure out the best way to teach a lesson, or like I'm trying to reach individuals who don't have this requisite skill level. And I want to know the best way to phrase certain things so I can meet them where they are and then bring them back up. It's great for that.
Yeah.
There are tons of ways to use AI in the classroom.
Yeah, I like some of the examples. I'm like, oh, give me a real world example to express this concept outside of this.
Yeah.
And it's definitely been very useful. And the students are like, oh yeah, I definitely get
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wish I had this example when I was learning this.
I tell you, I am a person who likes to connect concepts to something practical and real in my life. And if I had these tools when I was in school, oh man, it would have just transformed my whole world.
Absolutely.
The fact that I can say, I am interested in sci-fi. And so whatever the concept is, break it down to me in a way that I can relate to in sci-fi, like in the sci-fi movies and stuff. And it can do that. And just the fact that now it's speaking at a level that you are primed to not only comprehend, but to just embrace, it does a whole lot in absorbing information.
So we talked about AI with faculty. You mentioned about students, the fear of understanding if the students are really learning, right? Students are utilizing AI and just throwing the questions in there, getting the answers out. And spitting it back out, which is, I guess, scary because are they really learning?
If you don't mind me just interrupting for a quick second, there was a study, I think it was by MIT, which was fascinating because it had three different groups of students. Students who did not use AI at all for whatever the activity was, students that used AI, and students who started off not using AI and then use AI.
Okay.
And it was a matter of like, I don't know, write an essay about something, whatever the actual assignment was, I can't remember. But what was interesting in the findings is that those who start off just Googling, just forget AI altogether. Just go back to the classical method. I'm just going to Google for everything and forget the fact that Google now gives you AI at the top of it with search results. Those people retain the information much better than any of the other two groups, meaning that after they were done, they would just ask a question about the material they put together and they could answer the question. It was just like, I wrote this, I did the research, of course I'm going to answer the question. The AI group failed miserably. So of course they have great papers or whatever. We asked them a follow-up question. Hey, what was the so-and-so you put in the paper? Or why did you say so-and-so in your response? Nothing. But the third group is the most interesting to me. The group that started out doing the Google search to kind of formulate the thing they wanted to say, and then use AI to help them write, either by doing a draft and then editing it and going back and forth, they also did almost as well as the first group. So, the best thing to do is just do your own thing, right? Don't depend so much on the technology. Just get your mind in there, just work it out. But the next best thing to do is just start doing that. Just get some thoughts out of your own head and figure out how you want to structure it.
Right.
Put some a reasonable amount of effort into just figuring out what you want to do and what you want to say. Then use AI to help you say it the way you would like to say it. That actually proved to be almost as good.
Yeah, yes. I think I hope students, listening to this start to kind of wrap their heads around AI a little bit better and maybe how to think about it. Because, the reason why I wanted to have this conversation is that I have two different camps in my room. I have the students who are all for AI, and maybe three camps, all for AI, and they just AI everything.
Yeah.
Then I have the students who are so scared. They're just like, I don't want to be considered a fraud or a cheater or anything.
I love those students. I don't want you to have anxiety, by the way, but I love them because they just want to put their own thoughts into everything. Mm-hmm. They want to do it themselves.
They also want you to feel more confident in them in general.
Yeah.
They want you to feel like you can trust them.
Yeah.
Because they know the material and information and versus, other things.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that.
All right. So beyond the classroom, you have research. You have this group, CEAMLS, which is tackling some of the toughest challenges in AI. Can you tell us more about your current research in AI and the problems you're trying to address?
Yes. So at CEAMLS, as I mentioned before, our focus is on the development, deployment, and verification of responsible AI. That's the core of everything. And so if I look at my research personally within CEAMLS, it is how do we put AI systems out there that we can trust and that work well across all demographics?
Yeah.
And one way to do so is test, 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 and test. So we have this platform, we call it TrustWatch. And the purpose of the platform is to do two things, is to look at models that are currently deployed, or at least they may be open source, whatever, models that people can access right now. What is the process by which we can test to make sure that they don't expose any biases, for example, in sentiment analysis, which is how the model feels a particular text, like the emotion behind a particular text.
Sure.
There has been a lot of research that shows that depending on if it's standard American English versus African American vernacular English, different models, perform differently. So we have a whole test rig just to test on these various things, and then make all of this available in a nice dashboard to the public. But also that the public can use the platform if they find incidents of bias and trust issues in the wild. They can report on the platform. And others can view what they've reported and upvote and downvote and comment and say, hey, I don't really see this behavior anymore. I can't reproduce it. And all of this is a rich collection of data that helps us understand how these models are evolving over time in terms of safety and alignment issues. and which companies or which models tend to do best than others when it comes to dealing with these kind of issues. So that's one piece of research. Another piece that's coming out of my research lab, which I don't think I ever mentioned the name of my lab specifically under the center, is the Data Engineering and Predictive Analytics Research Laboratory, DEPA. So under DEPA, we also do a lot of work in taking information and making it accessible to decision makers or to other systems. So this is a whole pipeline involved in just saying, hey, how do I make raw information useful to someone who's a decision maker? Like, this could be in the Army, it could be command and control, whatever it is. How can they act on this information under uncertainty conditions? So there's a whole pathway for that. And there's even a pathway back to robotics. How do I take raw information from the world through perception and use that to feed to robotic systems so they can act autonomously in the real world? So this gets us to something like our autonomous wheelchair called UrbanFlow, which was designed to be a cost-effective way to attain autonomous transportation on a wheelchair by doing a retrofit with sensors designed to do a thing and one thing only. So we are not doing things like collecting all the information and shipping it out to the cloud, privacy issues and stuff like that. So we're doing, responsible AI from that standpoint. But we're also creating systems that are accessible to a broad range of people by it just being a cost-effective retrofit. So there's a bunch of different aspects in the lab that we are focused on, but they all deal with information in some sort of way and making that information actionable or making that information feedback to drive systems like robotic systems.
This is amazing research. It leads me, one thing I was just thinking about, we talked about AI, faculty, students, but then like to your point, the broader community, right? And, I just think about what I was talking about. You need some type of intuition as it pertains to using AI. It seems like it might put some people at a disadvantage to using AI and some people at more so of an advantage.
I think the advantage here is going to be between those who utilize AI effectively and those who don't. Meaning that everyone should get used to the reality that we're in right now, that AI gives you such a leg up that you would be at a great disadvantage if you don't figure out how to use it responsibly in what you do.
Yes. I think use it responsibly. And I think what I hear in that, though, is use it responsibly and also using it. So therefore, it might be a disadvantage of people who don't want to use it at all.
Correct. And this is where it's kind of weird because I was praising the group who was trying to do all the work themselves, which I appreciate. I love it.
Yes.
But, practically speaking, it's, boy, this is a very interesting one. What you can accomplish now with AI is that it magnifies the effort that you put in, right? So imagine I have, two groups of entrepreneurs. One that is scared of AI, doesn't want to touch it. They're just going to do what they do and they're comfortable doing what they do. And the other who embraces the tools, they know how to evaluate it well. They know how to take the outputs and make sure they apply critical thinking and blah, blah, blah. Well, that group will most likely accomplish the work of, 100 people, all by themselves, accelerating whatever their business is tremendously faster than the individuals who do not. So you connect the dots.
Yes.
Connect the dots.
Yes. And like I said, I wanted to have this conversation because I think this is important, to talk about from an education standpoint. I don't know that there's a lot of people having these conversations, and there are people having the conversations, but I think it should become more to speak about it on an everyday basis because it's our future. It's here. It's our future.
Well, and a quick example is imagine Uber or DoorDash or whatever without GPS. When a person says, I don't want to use GPS, okay, fine, don't use GPS. Get your maps out.
Yeah.
It's just what you can do is much limited, even though you don't technically need it, but it accelerates and opens up all new opportunities by having that technology. I'll bet you the individuals who were first to launch the satellites, it was the military, and create this global positioning system and so forth. They didn't foresee the fact that it was going to open up a whole new type of business, which is like the gig, it wasn't a community, the gig, I can't think of the word, but there's a whole group of individuals right now who are earning their income.
Oh, yeah.
But the gig economy.
Okay.
It will open up the gig economy. They didn't really think about it that way, but now that's how millions of people make a living. So AI to me is going to be the same thing. We don't really know what's going to open up. We have an inkling now as we're just kind of seeing where the technology is going, but it's going to open up so many new opportunities that if you do not engage now, most likely you will be disadvantaged in the future.
I think that's interesting because I think most people that think about AI, they think about the opposite, which is taking away jobs.
Yes, there is that too.
So there is that too.
Yeah.
I think what we understand is it will take away jobs, right? Because some things become more automated. However, I think to your point, as you become someone who learns how to master AI, I would say, responsibly checking it, efficiently. As you do that, it can create more opportunities there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. And so we're pushing and pulling in two different directions, but I think it looks scary though for people who don't want to get on board.
It is scary. I won't lie to you. It is scary, but the ship has already sailed.
We're already here.
We're already here. Certain jobs are already being lost.
Yeah.
Even if I look, oh my goodness, you see some of these video creation tools and platforms, they're getting really good.
They're getting really good.
To the point that advertising is going to be a very different kind of industry, because why pay for individuals to model particular things, to do voiceovers, to do all these different things when you can simply generate it for pennies? I'm not advocating that this is a way
for sure.
But that's the reality that we're heading into. So, I wouldn't want to just bury my head in the sand and just pretend that the world would never change. I would want to know, well, okay, it's here. What industries are being disrupted right now? What industries will be disrupted in the next year? What industries might actually, kick off or grow because of a new capability that this is providing that we didn't have before?
I see.
I would want to stay engaged because now I'm charting my course, right? If I just stay the course that I've been on, it probably is not going to end very well. I need to upskill, adapt, and then move with the technology. So there's a nice saying that goes around that don't be afraid of AI taking your job, at least immediately. Be afraid of the person who uses AI well to come take your job. In that, of course, there's certain things that are just going to be disrupted just because they're low-hanging fruit for AI. But it's a lot that's not low-hanging fruit, not just yet. But the individuals who can leverage AI to accelerate and boost what they can do in a position that maybe you also are doing something and you're holding right now, that person is more valuable because they know how to use the tool to be more productive, to be more creative, to reach a broader audience, whatever it is. They know how to use that tool. So they are more, I don't want to use the word valuable, but they will be more sought after. So you want to be in that scene.
Absolutely. All right. So as we're starting to wrap up, how can the broader community support or get more involved with CEAMLS? From students. I think you guys do camps, or
Yes, we do camps. Absolutely. Number one thing, follow us on social media. We are on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, YouTube.
I'll have those links in the comments below.
Great. You'll see a lot of what we do, and it'll be much easier to know where to kind of complement what you want to accomplish as well. But we have a program called the Summer AI Research Institute. It brings in about 50 students from across the nation, gets them hands-on research with AI projects, interdisciplinary. So it goes across almost every discipline here we have at the university. It involves faculty and their research projects with graduate mentors, working hands-on day-to-day with these students. It's great. People who come to the program have done amazing things. I'm really proud of them.
Okay.
But we do workshops as well. We do talks. We have outreach efforts in the community. We have a fantastic outreach effort, quite frankly, K through 12. And so if individuals want to volunteer, help us do hands-on activities in the schools, we would love that.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for your insight. I think this is a fantastic conversation, and I'm sure a conversation that's going to continue to evolve as AI gets better, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully not better hallucinating, but I guess as you stated before, it just hallucinates on the truth sometimes really well.
Yeah, sometimes its hallucinations are aligned very well with the truth.
Okay. Well, here on the B-Xcellent podcast, our mission is to amplify diversified voices in STEM on new pathways of innovation, equity, and success. So Dr. Nyarko's work is a powerful example of that action in AI. It isn't just about technology, it's about people, fairness, and opportunity. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. And until then, be excellent. Let's thank Dr. Nyarko for sharing his time, insight, and vision for a more equitable future in AI. And just as important, we like to thank our listeners for joining us on today's episode of the B-Xcellent podcast. Dr. Nyarko's work is a powerful example of how STEM impacts our everyday lives. Because AI isn't just about technology, it's about people, fairness, and opportunity. I'm Dr. Brandon Harrison Smith, and this has been the B-Xcellent podcast. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep being excellent. Thank you.